with scattered delays. It's 42 minutes, 390 to downtown. Outbound 45 at East Avenue. There's a crash on the left shoulder. Stevenson, 355 to Lakeshore Drive is 33 minutes. Ryan, 24 minutes from 95th. Northbound Lakeshore Drive has delays from the Stevenson to Monroe. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer show continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with meteorologist Steve Williams.
We'll get some sun today, the high at 67. Clear skies for tonight, low 53. For tomorrow, a breezy start to the day. It'll be cool times of sun and clouds, a high tomorrow at 63. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
It's currently 62 degrees. Your next news update in 30 minutes. For continuous coverage of news, traffic, and weather, go to 560theanswer.com. I'm Elisa Z on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 5.
Democrat Socialist Madness. A Monmouth poll out this week finds 65% of respondents say maintaining law and order is a big problem. The poll identified party affiliations on the topic. 28% Republican, 41% Democrats. 28% among Republicans, 28% of 65% Republicans, 41% are independents, 31% are Democrats, self-identified. He writes, here's the election's ticking time bomb. Among non-Republican blacks and other minorities, more than 60% agree that civil disorder has become a big issue, while just 46% of white non-Republicans see it as a problem. Looks like where one lives explains a lot about the Democratic worldview. There's more bad news for the wrong moment for Harris-Biden, and that is the appropriate order. Conclusive evidence has emerged that the American left is certifiably insane. And this, of course, he refers to the, among other examples, the We Hope They Die rally against the officers who were shot in Compton outside their hospital over the weekend.
Disgrace. And
it may explain why that the Harris-Biden team isn't welcome in as many places as they thought they might be. We talked about President Trump's strong support among Latino supporters, Latino voters in Florida. Remarkable. He's running 30 points ahead with Latino voters as compared to what he got in Florida in 2016.
In 2016, Hillary Clinton, 62% of the Latino vote in Florida. He was 32%. It's unbelievable. The
presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, she didn't have her VP, Joe Biden, in tow. She did a little impromptu campaign stop at a Venezuelan restaurant in Doral, Florida. And she made news. She made news because the restaurant owner wasn't happy about her visit, wouldn't have welcomed it if he knew, and nor were many of his patrons.
This area was buzzing yesterday when Senator Kamala Harris dipped into this restaurant here unannounced. It's Amaze Latin flavors, pretty popular Venezuelan and other Latin flavors served here. So yesterday's visit, Jackie, is not getting great reviews today. In fact, there's even internet chatter encouraging a boycott of this restaurant. An executive with the restaurant told him Mrs. Harris wasn't welcome here yesterday.
We don't use the company for political reasons.
Andres Garcia, not pleased with Senator Kamala Harris's visit to his restaurant yesterday.
We are very respectful of every individual in our organization, and we will never take, as an organization, a political position.
Garcia, president of the board of directors for the Amaze Latin Flavors restaurants, telling us he had no idea the Democratic vice presidential nominee and her campaign were stopping by yesterday.
In respect to our stakeholders, we wouldn't support that. If they will ask, we will say, no, we're not going to do it.
Garcia says he found out on social media she was at the restaurant and some of the posts were critical.
I learned the hard way. Sometimes when we look into the social media and we take it for granted what people say in the social media.
Yeah, well, it looks like that's not going to help cut into Trump's support among Latino voters in Florida. For more on the topic of the Harris-Biden ticket, and I guess we do have to technically acknowledge that Biden is the presidential nominee. So
Not Harris administration?
So we do have to review him. George Neumayr has done that in a new book called The Biden Deception. Moderate, opportunist, or the Democrats' crypto-socialist, ? I guess it depends on the day. George Neumayr, American Spectator senior editor, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me.
So, moderate opportunist or the Democrats' crypto-socialist. He's a man for all times. So I guess I don't know. He's an opportunist who calls himself a moderate, except when it's time to call himself a crypto-socialist. Is that the correct answer?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's certainly an opportunist who has become a crypto-socialist. He has always followed the party wherever it goes. When the party was more moderate, he was more moderate. Now that the party is far left, he's far left. So he's very much a puppet of the base of the party. And that's what I argue in the book, that he'll be a more liberal president than Barack Obama was.
Well, and then when it comes to fracking, I still can't get over how he's just, kept saying he's going to eliminate that. But then he went to Pennsylvania and met with frackers and said, oh, no, your job is safe. And what Biden are we supposed to believe?
Right. Yeah. He's he has a long history of chronic lying and plagiarism. So he really isn't to be believed. He told coal miners that they should learn how to code. Ugh. He said that it'd be easy for them to transition into computer programming jobs. So he has a very cavalier approach to these matters.
So he would be a more liberal president than Barack Obama, more socialist than Barack Obama. And the reason is because he has given way to what the Democrat Party has become, which is a socialist movement party.
Right, yeah, and he's been working with Bernie Sanders. They formed a working group together to produce a manifesto. So it's clear that he's going to bring into his administration all of these Bernie Sanders supporters and AOC supporters, and they're really going to be running his administration.
It seems to me that it will be difficult for him to sell Lunch Pail Joe, Scranton Joe, when he is countenancing the attitude among that base of his party that is so anti-police officer and frankly anti-law enforcement when it comes to, as we were just discussing, the civil unrest.
Right. Yeah, it's really impossible for him to maintain that image of Lunchbox Joe when he's running with a San Francisco radical, Kamala Harris, who's an explicit supporter of Black Lives Matter, and who tweeted out her support for rioters in jail and asked people to bail them out of jail. Yes. So the fact that he's running with Kamala Harris, makes it impossible for him to present himself as a moderate.
And what does Biden represent to our economy? I know he's going to obviously repeal the Trump tax cuts, and what else is he planning on doing?
Well, I think he's going to restore all of the destructive regulations that Donald Trump has been eliminating. So, that will, I think, have a very damaging effect on the economy to restore all those regulations. And then, of course, he has these very extravagant spending plans. His Green New Deal will cost trillions of dollars. Biden Care will cost trillions of dollars. He has all these plans for expanding domestic programs. So all of that's going to have to be paid for, and it's going to be paid for by the middle class.
With respect to China, per Hunter Biden's seemingly very good relationship with at least some of the Chinese communists who invested in his private equity concern, how does that play out, do you think, with China arguably America's preeminent threat in the world? And this against the backdrop of this whistleblower that's come forward, this Chinese virologist who suggests that the COVID-19 virus was made in a Chinese lab and released on purpose. To the extent that her research is able to corroborate that, it would seem to put Joe Biden's relatively soft approach to China put him in a difficult position per that.
Yeah, Biden is a longtime apologist for China. One of the things I point out in my book is that he actually supported China's coercive one-child policy. he went over to China during the Obama years, and he said that he fully understood that policy. So he's been making excuses for China's barbarism for many, many years. And I think we're going to witness it. Should he win, we'll see a major shift in American-Chinese relations. We're going to go from a president who stood up to China and it forced China to come to the trading table and to form better trade deals to a president who's a complete apologist, who's totally in the tank for Beijing.
Wow, that's even Judd Apatow in Hollywood is going after China now, in Hollywood for selling out to the Chinese communists, something Joe Biden won't apparently do. He's not going to be tougher on China than Judd Apatow. That's not good in the White House. How do you see Joe Biden standing up for the last 50 odd days until Election Day? I mean, just in terms of your sense of what his how strong a finish he will be able to muster.
Well, I think the debates are going to expose his mental decline, and I anticipate that his debate performances will be incredibly wobbly. So I think the debates really represent Trump's best chance of beating Biden, and I'm looking forward to those debates greatly.
And if to sum up his 50 years in Washington D.C., it turns out that he's just been a cipher, right? I mean, that's just the end of it. He's not a leader. He's never been a leader. He's never going to be a leader. He's a hail fellow, well met. He's a political cipher. He's there's a million guys like him inside the Beltway. Right.
Yeah, he's the quintessential swamp creature who's been engaging in transactional politics for decades. He's been wrong on every, as Bob Gates, the former defense secretary, put it, Joe Biden has been wrong on every national security and foreign policy issue over the last 50 years. So he doesn't bring any wisdom to the table, and all he brings is a resume as a political hack.
And does he go anywhere without his wife Jill? She came with him to Kenosha. She's with him all the time. How do you interpret that?
Yeah, I think she's propping him up. She's sort of playing the role of Woodrow Wilson's wife. Woodrow Wilson famously, spent 2 years in bed while his wife was running the country. We may see something similar under a Biden administration.
Well, hopefully we won't see a Biden administration. He is George Neumayr, he's senior editor at the American Spectator, the author of the new book, The Biden Deception, Moderates, Opportunists, or the Democrats' Crypto Socialists. George, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You know what you could do? You could completely rid of all the grass in your backyard and turn it into a gigantic neon green trampoline park. Or you could turn all the walls in your home office into a massive vending machine display where only you know the special code and only Rolos and Fritos pop out.